Briefing software active. Sense of humor offline.
Excuse me?
Computer was getting a little uppity, so I pulled a couple of chips.
Tangaroa Island. Once believed mythical, this island located at latitude 4.815 and longitude 162.342 is mostly unexplored.
So far as we know, this meteor shard hasn't been snatched yet, but there's still a pretty good deal of phantom activity in the area. We sent someone in to retrieve the meteor shard, but we lost radio contact with him 24 hours ago.
Agent identity, Iron Fist. There is nothing funny about this name. Iron Fist is a master of the Kunlun martial arts. His costume is not funny.
Clearly, I need to unhook some sarcasm circuits too.
Oh, come on. Just give the poor thing its sense of humor back.
Sense of humor circuits reactivated. Thank you, Spider-Man.
Computer, are the phantoms on the island the same as what we saw in Tokyo?
Last report from Agent Iron Fist identified a 9% symbiote index in all encountered phantoms.
Computer, if you think you can behave yourself, please load up the villain profiles.
Threat identity, Scorpion. Scorpion suit is equipped with a high-powered plasma laser. Warning, has a big tail.
Computer.
Threat identity, Rhino. Rhino's strength is only matched by his lack of wits. Warning, smells like a rhinoceros.
All right, that's enough. I want some computer techs in here right now.
I'll tell you what, I'll just leave you two to sort this out, and I'll go see if I can find your buddy Iron Fist and that meteor shard. Looks like trouble.
Hey, Spider-Man.
These enemies actually have projectiles now, which is fine because the Green Goober and Spider-Man himself have some pretty good projectiles of their own. The Green Goblin has a lot of razor bats and pumpkin bombs that he can use on command. He doesn't do so hot in melee combat, but when you can throw 3 razor bats out at a time, that's not a big deal. Homing razor bats, mind you. And no, before you get super excited, we cannot use his glider. That's just not an option. The Green Goblin also has this area of effect attack, which is a surge of electricity, but it leaves him very vulnerable while he uses it. So mostly I stick with the razor bats and pumpkin bombs. Of course I make an effort to show off his other attacks anyway, because we did buy them.
We got them all.
After making it through Tokyo, Spider-Man now has the ability to shoot blasts of web like bullets. We also bought an upgrade that allows us to do a 3-hit combo, where we fire a left burst of web, a right burst of web, and then one with both of our wrists. These attacks are very good at spinning enemies around, so it's just as good at stunning them as our grapple is. Notably, we have less options with the web shooters than with the web grapple right now, because we're just smashing circle to spam projectiles rapidly. But it works. It's also not nearly as mindless as it may first seem, because I am prioritizing enemies that are about to throw their projectiles. I mean, obviously we want to hit those guys first so they don't actually get the chance to throw their projectiles at us. They can throw them in the air, by the way, so just jumping isn't safe unless you jump after they throw them. So it's pretty basic stuff so far. You know, you can't just mindlessly button mash. Prioritize enemies that are about to use their projectiles and don't dodge until the projectile leaves the gun. But that's more than we had previously. It's a shame that the AI isn't as good at abusing Goblin's pumpkin bombs and razor bats, or this would be over a lot faster.
All clear.
And away we go. sun, sand, and surf. Man, I wish I could take a break.
He is rather large, isn't he?
Say hello to the new Commander-type Phantom. These ones are quite different from the Phantoms with the light core that we fought in Tokyo. They have two main attacks. They can cause shockwaves with their giant club that are thankfully easily jumped over, but spread out the more they go. And they have a more devastating attack where they can stomp at the ground to release several more encompassing shockwaves in a row. These can be somewhat difficult to jump over because they're so close together, but a single hop is your best bet. You really don't want to go double jump crazy when they start stomping at the ground. Now, they're most vulnerable when they raise their shield so you can hit their stomach, but we can always just use our Razor Bats anyway to deal small amounts of damage regardless of whether their shield is up. You know, it was really nice of whoever made these Phantoms to make sure they had appropriate themes for every situation we find them in. A lot of people wouldn't go through the trouble. But no, whoever's behind this is a top-notch villain. They pulled out all the stops. Remarkably, in spite of me going double jump crazy, which I specifically told you not to do, I still managed to come out of this alright.
Let's get moving. Spider-Man, party of two, your bad guys are ready.
Constant flapping of your jaws driving me insane!
Whenever we play as Spider-Man now, we're going to switch between the web grapple and the web shot. You know, just using one of them, that would get kinda old. It is the unfortunate case that we cannot throw the Phantoms into the water, which I've tried, definitely. It is harder to interrupt these Phantoms' attacks when we're using the web grapple instead of the web shooters. But, you know, we get to throw them around with the web grapple, which is more fun. So for straightforward combat, the web shooters are definitely more practical, is what I'm saying, but when there are any cliffs nearby, or you just feel like doing some fancy stuff, then the web grapple is your best bet. For some reason, our Green Goblin buddy seems overly attached to melee combos. I mean, that's fine as long as it gets the job done. But he's got a ton of gadgets for a reason. Well, maybe not exactly a ton of gadgets, but he's got quite a few, so you might as well put him to use.
Gates open. You can go. Now we're talking. It's open. Let's go.
Holographic target practice is all they are.
Here is the new large enemy type for Tangaroa Islands. Their most devastating attribute is their ability to roll at you when they get angry. and they tend to get angry whenever you hit them with a powerful attack or knock them over. They will take a second to roar right before they roll at you, but it's best just to stop them from rolling in the first place, which is easy for us because the Green Goblin can easily stun lock them with his Razor Bats. So the solution to an enemy that gets angry when you get aggressive is to get even more aggressive. Still, they're probably the most dangerous enemies in this entire location.
It's done.
Come on, let's get him!
It's another Commander Phantom, and our strategy is going to be exactly the same, except we're also going to try not to fall off the cliff behind us. That's a small addition to our strategy. It is more difficult to fight these things as Spider-Man because his attacks don't hurt as much, but they do fire more rapidly at least.
Phantoms!
What are you waiting for, webhead? Get him!
Not a big area to fight in this time, so maybe we'll actually have a use for this attack. We'll see. I would certainly like to be able to use it more often, but it's not very practical. Which is a shame, because it does deal decent damage, it's just you have to stand still for so long that there's no way you won't get hit. You know what, I guess it's pretty good to use after you knock over enemies since it can hit them on the ground. I guess that's a decent use for it, yeah.
I took them all down!
Keystone activated.
I have a very bad feeling. You guys couldn't think of anything better to do than roam around being evil?
If this arena isn't a big invitation to throw enemies off of the cliff, then I don't know what is. Of course, this is also the multiplayer arena we unlocked for doing this, so you could always knock your friends off the cliff too. Unfortunately, you can't grab your friends with Spider-Man's web grapple ability, because that would be just a mite overpowered.
New Versus Arena acquired.
I'd like to thank you all for being so very punchable.
And explodable, they're very easy to explode, and with the way they're standing all grouped together like that, it's like they were asking for it, really. So if there's one thing you learned from watching me play as Green Goblin, hopefully it's that spamming Razor Bats has no negative consequences at all. Though we will get a character with an even more ridiculous projectile attack soon enough. If the enemies are going to insist on just standing back and throwing stuff at us, then I don't see why we can't do the same. That seems fair.
That was great!
That's all of them.
Let's do this!
Okay, the final challenge of this level is just a phantom spawner, and instead of using our fists this time, we're going to use our web shot at close range. Because our web shot just deals more damage than our punches, there's no two ways about it. And whenever some phantoms get too close for comfort, we'll just hop to the other side of the spawner. That should buy us a bit more time. This was it for the Green Goblin, but I think I did a reasonably good job showing off his strengths.
Come on, this way.
We have Black Cat again with us for this level, and for some reason I was trying to go backwards, but the reason we have Black Cat with us is because we didn't get a new character last level.
There's trouble ahead, Spidey.
Oh boy, trouble.
So every time there's not a new character available, we're just going to bring Black Cat along. Anyway, this is the second level of this location, which means there will be a boss at the end, and I actually really like this boss. But of course we'll talk more about that when we actually get there. For now, you're seeing that ganging up on these large phantoms and just punching them to death works just as well as stun-locking them with Goblin's Razor Bats.
Spidey, look out!
The only thing we really need to look out for is this pretty looking waterfall over here that we can throw the enemies into, which we could also do if we were playing as Black Cat, just less effectively. No matter how many times I do it, there's just something so satisfying about slam dunking an enemy over the side of a cliff.
That was really good.
Which is all we're going to do for this fight, so I guess that's a good thing. I think Black Cat should really be taking our strategy into consideration here, because ours seems to be working a lot better than hers. I guess it's nice of her to keep them distracted, though.
Combo level 2.
Well done!
Spidey, look out!
So you know how I mentioned that the game said Prowler was good at both close quarters combat and ranged combat, when really he was only good at ranged combat? Well, Black Cat, on the other hand, is actually very good at both. Her special attacks work equally well at close range and from a long distance. Even her ground pound. So she's really fun to play with when you're fighting normal enemies, but unfortunately her projectile attack's usefulness is limited to regular battles. Not so good against Commander Phantoms. It just doesn't deal enough damage to keep up, and it has a bit of a startup to it as well. So fighting Commander Phantoms with her can be rather time-consuming, just keep that in mind. It's a shame Black Cat can't throw guys around as well as Spidey, even though she does have mostly the same moveset. I mean, they didn't want anyone to feel as useful as Spidey, even though some of the characters are more powerful than he is, so I guess it makes sense. But does it make Spider sense?
Man, it feels good to be a superhero.
Yes, it certainly does.
The bad guys are toast. Gates open.
Right, so I did mention that Black Cat is kind of bad at fighting Commander Phantoms and that it takes a while with her. So even though we get a good start here by using the attack power-up, it's still going to take a long time. And I'm sure you won't mind if we, skip on past it.
Well, it's nice to be out of the sun, but I've got a bad feeling about this place. Alright, this is my favorite part!
Well, Spidey, it's also, like, the only part, so I think that's a good sign. You may have been able to guess without me showing you just now that these green barrels are explosive. They do deal more damage, but there's often so few of them that it's not worth worrying about. If they gave you more objects to toss around during battle, that would be kind of cool, but I guess most of the grappling and throwing is going to be done on the enemies themselves. I'm sure you've already noticed that we found a nice little corner over here that we can hurl the bad guys into without too much trouble. And this is the last meaningful, normal fight of the level before we go fight the boss. And there are a lot of these suckers, they just keep coming and coming and coming. And it's weird that there are no large phantoms in this level. I mean, there was a Commander Phantom, but I don't recall any large phantoms, just a lot of these smaller guys. You might be wondering how I'm enjoying playing something this repetitious, and the answer is because, do you see Spider-Man on screen? That's why. It's not frustrating or unfair, and it has Spider-Man in it. That's good enough.
Toast.
Look, the gate.
Hey, what you doing, pal?
Keeping you occupied while the others collect the shards.
So your plan to keep me occupied is to put a big tail on your costume and hit me with it? Genius!
This is a pretty good boss fight. There are two places Scorpion likes to hang around, on the big platform and off the big platform. In order to make him move off the big platform, we wait till he spins and then hit him while he's dizzy. Now, if we follow him down off the platform, he'll do his spin attack again immediately, enabling us to hit him within a matter of seconds. And as long as we keep following him up and down like this as quickly as possible, he won't even have time to use his other attacks. That's the idea. So these blasts that Scorpion shoots while he's on the platform, they do home in on us, but we can easily evade them simply by jumping fast enough. He's also capable of making rocks fall from the ceiling, but after we reach him, those will stop. The only thing that appears to be different about the second phase is that when he hops back up on the platform, one of the platforms we use to reach him will vanish into the lava like that. But that's no matter to us because we can just skip across the lava ourselves without taking damage as long as we keep hopping. And reaching him as quickly as possible through the lava is much preferred to letting him shoot us with his lasers, because those actually do hurt. Oh, and if you're noticing that we don't appear to be doing as much damage with Black Cat as Spider-Man, that's because we upgraded Spider-Man's strength and toughness. So even though she's fine for normal enemies, she doesn't quite pack the same punch as far as normal, well, punches are concerned. In spite of this, most of our allies still have better special attacks than Spidey. I do really like the way this boss uses platforming. I think it's pretty good.
This isn't happening!
Hey, aren't you ready to give up yet?
Whoa, this ain't New York.
Ooh, observant. Tell me, now that I've broken the mind control, what's going on?
Mind control? Somebody needs a thumping, because I don't like being out of control.
And yet, when you're in control, you dress up like a scorpion and act crazy. Go figure.